Okay, I think we're finally all set. Just like I said, we're going to concentrate on Diotima's Rede today, and we're going to speak about the beautiful. We're going to both speak about the beautiful and the individual beautiful things that at least Plato finds them, as Platon finds them. So the dialogue that we all read, Symposion, there are different praises about love from different characters in it. But when it is time, they're gathered somewhere, they're gathered in this famous poet Agathon's house after a festival or something like that, and each one takes his or her own turn to give a praise about Eros. Eros means love. You might have heard about that. So don't get any wrong ideas. I'm writing it in pink, but it's in fact masculinum. Eros is a he. And they say that it's some kind of a god, and everybody should give his or her own praise in favor of this god. They say we always neglect this god called Eros, and we should, today they say we should stop drinking. We have already, did that yesterday. We have already done that yesterday. We already, drank too much. Instead, today, let's concentrate on praising this god called Eros, they say. But later on, as Socrates speaks, we will understand that, by his conversation, of course, with Diotima, we will understand that Diotima thinks that Eros is not a god at all. It's not a god. So it is not a Theos. It's a kind god. It's not a god. So what is it then? Is it mortal, they ask? Or Socrates asks Diotima whether it's mortal. So mortal is Tinetos. Mortal. They ask if it's not a god, then, or Socrates asks, is it something mortal? Diotima answers like this. She says, no, it's not a god and it's not a mortal. It's something in between, she says. So not a god, not a mortal. Something in between. That is in Greek, metaxou. It's not a god. It's not a mortal, but it's something in between. Something in between a god and something mortal is usually called in Greek a daimon. You might have heard about this. Did you hear about this? Daimon. Eros is not a god, it's not mortal, it's something in between. It is actually a daimon. Do you remember Socrates had one daimon? Socrates had one daimon, and it brought him a lot of trouble because people thought that he was rejecting the formal gods of the state, then accepted gods of the state, and that was pretty much bringing trouble to him. At the end, they executed him, not only for this, but for some other reasons as well, which could be counted as he was, so to speak, he was corrupting the children, the youngsters, they said. And he didn't believe in the gods of the state. These were the two accusations that were brought against Socrates then, before he was executed. So Socrates had a diamond, not a diamond. Socrates had a diamond. It's let's say, a semi-god, a half-god it is. A diamond is a half-god. Whenever, Socrates said, whenever he is doing something that he is not supposed to do. Whenever he is doing something that he shouldn't really do, that daimon appeared and stopped him. It was like his inner sound. The daimon of Socrates was like his inner sound, but it never appeared regularly. For example, he says he is going to the court, to hear about the charges that were pressed against him. He's going to the court, and he says, when he gets to the court, he says, okay, I came here today, but, I came because my daimon really didn't stop me. If I wasn't supposed to come here, in front of all of you to this court today, my daimon surely would have stopped me, Socrates says. So it's like his inner voice. When it is all too okay, when he is on the right path of, that wherever he's going, his daimon stays silent. So Socrates' daimon is a special kind of a daimon, let's say, but daimon is generally translated as a semi-god. Okay, Eros, Diotima gives kind of an account of Eros. She says, you might have read about it already. She says, yes, it is a daimon, it's not a god, it's also not a mortal, but she gives something like a origin of Eros, and that's a mythos. She explains it with a mythos. And then she cuts the mythos, and that comes to the philosophical part, which we are in fact more interested in. The mythos in Plato, that's a whole other topic. And Platon makes Diotima talk here using this mythos at the beginning. She says, Eros, yes, because his parents were, Pania. Pania is poverty. That's Eros' mother, poverty. So the opposite of wealth, poverty. And the father was Poros. Poros means passage, way, like an Holzweg, passage, a way. So Eros came into the world from these two beings, from these two gods, Penia and Poros, poverty and passage. And Diotima says that because the mother of this kid, namely Eros, was poverty, she says Eros is always lacking something. Eros is never complete, she says. Eros is always lacking something, in need of something, in want of something. So Eros is not something complete, as many other people think, Diotima says. So, if Eros is not complete, and if it is in want of something, Diotima says that it should be in want of, for example, beautiful things. She says, look at those people who are in love, who are carrying that Eros. Look at those people who are in love. They're always in want of something. They want to be complete. And yes, there are people, there are different types of love. There are people who are, in love with different kind of things. And, it is very much possible to love and to be after, according to Diotima, at least three kind of things. I'm going to count them one by one. At least three different things you can love. There's Eros translated as love, and there's this other word, the verb form translated as loving, and that's philein. Love. You know this, philein, this word, because it is also to be found in philosophia. Philos, friend. Philein, to be a friend to something, to love something, philein. So she says, Diotima says that it is very much possible to love at least three different things, and these, love here that are to be counted are very much in different manners. Very much towards different things, And the outcomes are also different. When you love different things, she says, basically, when people, in the first state, when people are in love, she says, basically that, mostly happens towards beautiful bodies, she says. The word for body is zoma. You must have heard Latin corpus, zoma. So it is, she says, at first we see the majority of the people in love with beautiful bodies. Seek beautiful bodies, reproduction, she says. Sexual activity. They're after this. Mostly people are after this and they love this. They want to have this, the beautiful bodies. She asks, why do they want to have, the majority of the people, why do they want to have beautiful bodies? Because she says, and this is, a point that was used, afterwards by Aristoteles in his work called De Anima, Periphasues. She says, people want to be immortal, she says. People want to remain forever. That's why they are inclined to these things. People want to be immortal, and they try to achieve this via different ways. One way of being immortal, goes through loving beautiful bodies. How will that happen? She says, okay, let's think about reproduction, sexual activity. The end of that, the sexual activity, the end of the sexual activity is usually creating children, When you love beautiful bodies, and when you're always after them, she says the main goal, the main aim is to create a being that's like you. And you think that, that being will create other beings, and then you will somehow live forever. And this is, we will see, this is something that we share with the plants, not only with animals. What happens when we do create other beings? For example, this person dies, this plant just grows. You just add the water to the plant. You just, first, of course, you have to, dig a hole, plant the seed, close it, water it. You will see that the plant will grow up to that point that it will grow, and it will be beautiful, and it will, fortunately, have all its full figure. And then, you will all collect all those seeds of the plant, if you will, of course. But it will give seeds, usually. If it's not, of course, genetically modified, the plants do give seeds. And then you will collect the seeds of the plant, and then the plant will start to decay. Because that's that principle it has in itself, to grow and then to decay. So that plant will be wasted, it will go away, but you have now collected the seeds. Let's say that that plant was something like an orange tree. It was a tree, it was an orange tree. So, of course, yes, trees do decay very hard. Let's say it was a tiny plant. When this plant itself decays and it dissolves, very much to the soil that it first came into being, we have already collected its seeds. So this plant died, but many others will follow it. So these beings, these living things, do keep something. Although that die, animals also do this, plants do this, we do it, but we individually, all of us, one by one, we do die. But when we make children, somehow we keep something. We, go immortal, just, thanks to this thing. And that is, what we keep is, it's not like, okay, we kind of pass our genes and stuff, but it's not this what they're talking about. When I will start the example with the plants. When plants do die one by one, but do give seeds, and when we just plant the other seeds and just keep the plant, plants kind of protect the concept of the plant. The concept of this flower or that flower, that remains, that is very much kept and preserved, that's saved. They just, with procreation, with giving birth, let's say, for the animals at least, the animals, they die one by one. The cats, the cows, the mice, they all die one by one. But because they do have children, we know about something called, for example, mouse. They become immortal through keeping and preserving this concept. They just preserve their own concept. They can't preserve themselves individually. They have to individually, one by one, all they have to die, because that's their principle. They come into being and then they decay and they die. But because they procreate, they just preserve their concept. So this is, Diotima says, this is one way to make yourself immortal. Just by preserving your concept, preserving your genus, let's say. Or preserving your eidos, let's say. That in this way you can make yourself immortal. In a way, in your concept at least. But, loving beautiful bodies, corpus, zoma, being in love with them, philein, and then, of course with animals, with sexual reproductivity and with other living beings in other ways, we can keep our concept. We can kind of hold on to this. But Diotima says there are really other ways, other phileins at least, other types of love. People, this is something that we share with the plants and the other animals. But people do have other ways of making themselves immortal. They don't just, keep the concept. This is very much, common. We see this on plants. This is also to be seen with the animals. So this is nothing unique to us. So Diotima says we should be, looking at something that is very much peculiar to the human being. What does the human being use, very much being peculiar to itself, to make him or herself immortal? Diotima says the human being might use some praxis. This is the plural form of praxis. You know the word. Actions. So, the second thing is actions. You can use some actions, namely beautiful actions. You can use beautiful actions to make yourselves immortal. This is, this has some kind of philein, loving behind itself. Then you can find throughout the dialogue there are some examples for this, beautiful actions. They're talking about Alcestis and Achilleus. For example, Achilleus, because his lover Patroclus, was murdered, Achilleus wanted to get a revenge. But they had offered him immortality, but he refuses this immortality and wants to take the revenge of his lover Patroclus, and then kills Hector. You might remember that. And in the dialogue we find that this beautiful praxis, of doing something in favor of your lover, taking, that this is considered as a beautiful praxis. That's another discussion. We can discuss whether this is a beautiful praxis or not. But Achilleus is very much rewarded for this. This is a beautiful praxis. And Achilleus, we still do know him today. He is kind of immortal. Homeros wrote about him, and he became immortal. There's also this woman called Alcestis. She died for her husband. Diotima quotes. There are two quotes, not only the Diotimas, but also before that, there's also one other mention of Alcestis. Alcestis, sees that her husband's family, her husband's mother, and her husband's father, they kind of are hesitant to die for their sons. And Alcestis, she says, no, I would of course, give my life for him. And then she's a person who is, once she dies, she's sent back to the earth from Hades. So the gods rewarded her. The gods rewarded her beautiful praxis, and she's immortal. Nobody, remembers those in-laws, the mother-in-law of Alcestis and the father-in-law of Alcestis, but everybody, Diotima says, everybody remembers of Alcestis herself. Because with her beautiful praxis, she gave her life. She was so much fond of her husband, without, being hesitant, she gave away her life. She just chose it, she just chose that, all of a sudden. And then, that's considered a beautiful praxis. But Diotima says there is even something more beautiful than beautiful praxis. There are some people, yes, of course, with beautiful praxis, with beautiful actions, people do become immortal, and that's, I guess, something, better than being in love with beautiful bodies, beautiful zomata, but there's something even more beautiful. The third thing that we found, it is really no surprise why now you have already, you're already in that shape to make a good guess about Plato and what he thinks, among all this, what could, come prior to all these other things. Diotima says that there's something even more beautiful than these things, and it is called logos. It is, argumentation in this sense. It's philosophical speech, as you can say. Logos can be sometimes translated as rede. You can say speech, but it's not any speech. It's not like, gossiping. It's not going blah, blah, blah. We have already talked about this. It is a speech that involves Vernunft, and it's a speech that involves argumentation. It's a philosophical speech. It's not any speech. It's not bragging about something. So, Diotima says it is, thirdly, very much possible to be immortal by beautiful logoi, beautiful speeches, beautiful argumentations, so beautiful philosophical argumentations that are brought about. You can, for this, you can, she doesn't give a detailed example, but you can use the whole history of philosophy for this. You can use the whole history of philosophy, or maybe some part of history of literature. You will see the philosophers, Platon, lived 2,000, almost 500 years ago. Diotima even maybe older than that. These people are still remembered. Just thanks to their, due to also their beautiful logoi, their beautiful speeches, and their beautiful giving accounts, their beautiful argumentations. And Diotima says that this is the most solid way you can find to become immortal. Nothing will make you more immortal, in fact, than this. The beautiful praxis are okay, but this is to be favored much more, the beautiful logoi. This is going to make you so famous and, so renowned. And not only that, because, sometimes she says, when you also look at the other Platonic texts, you, directly recognize this one thing, and that's this. People who are involved in beautiful praxis, sometimes they might be after the fame after all. We know this. We know, Plato's giving accounts about this elsewhere. So people who are fond of beautiful praxis, they love time. Time means fame. Usually they love fame. Fame and also honor. They're usually after this. People also, I'm gonna go back a little bit, people who love beautiful bodies, who love beautiful zomata, they are a friend to, are a philos to hedone. Pleasure. You know, hedonism and all. So some people do love that, yes, they want the beautiful bodies because they're very much a friend to pleasure. They're after pleasure. Their orexes, their appetites are all for pleasure. And some other people who do take part in beautiful actions, these people, mostly might be a friend to fame and honor. Because this, hoi praktikoi, Platon says elsewhere, these people of praxis. These people of praxis, you see sometimes the politicians acting like this, people of praxis. These are usually, looking for fame and honor. For example, some cities are ruled like this. Some cities are value honor, in comparison to Sophia, wisdom, for example. An example is, for example, Sparta. Sparta is a city which favors time, honor. If you are, for example, very much fond of hunting, if you are a good warrior, if you're strong, if you are muscular, you are the type who can rule in Sparta, but not in Athens. In Athens things work pretty different. Okay, so these third people, according to Diotima, who are after beautiful logo and who will be immortal really forever and in the best way that one can imagine. These are people who love and who are friends to, so philo, sophoi. We just collected that word. Philo, sophoi. So philos and philein, these people love and these people are friends to wisdom, sophos. Philosophoi is the plural version. These people think that wisdom comes before it all. Wisdom comes before time, honor, and fame. And it comes before hedone, pleasure. And hedone, pleasure, is something that Platon looks very down on. He really doesn't prefer it over anything. Yes, beautiful praxes are also nice, but the theoretical stuff always comes first. But of course we would, guess this because this is the philosopher that's writing this text. Of course he would be in favor of logoi instead of beautiful praxes. Platon, almost all his life tried to stay away from the politics in Athens. Once he was very young, he could just get into politics. I will very shortly go into the gossip thing about Platon. He was coming from a very wealthy and very famous family in Athens, and he had known so many people in the power in different times, and he could really, some family members were also in the government. He could just, end up getting a nice seat in the Senate or something like that. He could just be a part of the ruling. But he saw that things were so corrupted even enough to execute Socrates. So he thought he would, this is a quote from one of his letters, he says, he thought that he would seek refuge in concepts, in eidos. So in eide, or let's say the plural form, he had the chance, but he refused to do so, and with good reason. Okay, these are three types of philein, loving, and three different objects that you can love. So the act is philein all the way, and you can love different things, and you can be immortal in at least three different ways. Now, back to this discussion with Kalon. We said, yes, eros, love, people are people who are in love. They're lacking something, they're in need of something, in want of something. They're in need of, eros is very much related to love then. Eros is love is very much related to the beautiful then. Sorry. People who are in love are looking for beautiful things, beautiful bodies, beautiful actions, beautiful speeches, at least. Because love was in need of something. But in the first part of the speech, in the first part of Diotima's speech, you hear Socrates saying that he learned from Diotima that love was neither beautiful nor good. He says this. It's neither beautiful nor good. And then Socrates, we see that kind of tries to react to Diotima, saying, oh, what are you saying, Gesundheit? What are you saying? And so is it ugly if it's not beautiful? Socrates asks this question when Diotima says that love isn't beautiful, eros isn't beautiful, and it's also not good. Socrates just pops up this question. He asks, is it ugly then, Aistron? Is it ugly then? And is it bad then? He asks. And then Diotima says, no, hush, no, of course it's not ugly, of course it's not bad. Now there is this distinction that Diotima wants to show us. The distinction between a negation, and this is very much, it can really be very much confusing and might create all sophistical kind of explanations. So this needs to be cleared out. The difference between a negation, negation, and enanthion, opposite. So when Diotima says that love is not beautiful, she's just putting a negation. That negation in Greek is me. It's just not in English. It's not beautiful. This is a negation. If that's an affirmative sentence, let's say, love is beautiful. When I'm putting a not just in the middle of it, when I'm saying love is not beautiful, I'm just negating the sentence. I've just said, I've just added this me, and Diotima says this is very much different from the opposite of the thing, the enanthion. So you have to think, maybe there are easier examples like wet and dry. Wet and dry are opposites, but wet and not wet, this one of them is the affirmative, the other is the negation. So these are extremely, different when you look at them. That's why Diotima says that when I say that eros is not beautiful, I thereby do not mean that it's ugly. No, it's not ugly. Ugly is its opposite. I just said that it's not beautiful. So when you put a negation before this adjective, you do not make it turn into this. You do not make it a negation doesn't turn something into its opposite. That's something she underlines. She gives great emphasis to. A negation does not turn something into its opposite. So what does it then? When I put the negation, okay, I did not turn it into the opposite. She says, you only put it somewhere in between. Well, we have heard about this in between just before. So when she says it's not beautiful, that means it's not ugly, but somewhere in between. And she also adds, Diotima adds, love, eros, isn't good. It isn't good, but she says that really doesn't imply that it's ugly. Again, me agaton doesn't mean kakon. Bad. Sorry, if I said ugly, forget it, remember it bad. Me agaton, not good means somewhere in between good and bad. So me agaton, if I add the negation, it just carries this concept somewhere in between. But we're not yet there in the opposite. The opposite is the extreme other end. Beautiful is here, ugly is here. Not beautiful, not ugly, these are somewhere in between. It could be between anywhere. But the opposites always are in extreme ends. One extreme end is agaton, the other extreme end is kagon. One extreme end is the beautiful, kalon, and the second extreme end is aisro. So you have to always watch out for the opposites and their difference to the negations. Is this clear? Should I go over this once again? If you have questions, you can just interfere. Okay, it shouldn't be that hard anyway. Okay, when she says this, when Diotima says this, it is somewhere in between. Then we understand. Then we understand this whole other thing that we just talked about. Because eros is not beautiful. Mekalon, it's not beautiful. And it's also not good. It's in need of these things. It's in need of the good, and it's also in need of the beautiful. That's why she talked about all that stuff. She has to first, if you would notice, I'm just, going backwards in the text and then just going forwards and just, making zigzags kind of. Whichever way seems to my mind, that would make the text more understandable. For you, of course. Okay, that's why she said love was kind of lacking. It was because of this, it wasn't beautiful, and also she made an explanation about the ancestors of love. We also talked about that. Eros was the child of Poros and Penia. It was a daimon. It was a daimon. So, this is somehow the first part of the speech, the Reda. The second part, in the second part of the speech, we will see how one, using love as a mittel, how one will proceed to find the beautiful. I'm just going to shortly talk about what Diotima says in the second part of the speech and then give a pause. The thing is, we have talked about beautiful here in some senses, but we will now, in the second part of the Rede, we will now talk about the beautiful, das Schöne. I haven't really added the article yet, and with a reason. Das Schöne, that is, now I add the article and make it to kalon. When I only use kalon, beautiful, instead of to kalon, I'm talking about eros, and I'm saying, I'm using kalon as an adjective, I'm saying, this thing is beautiful. I'm saying eros is beautiful or eros isn't beautiful. But I'm not talking about the beautiful itself. Now, I'm going to talk about the beautiful itself in the second part of the Rede, and we will see how Diotima explains that people in love, can proceed to find the beautiful itself, because that is what the philosopher is looking at. The philosopher aims this. The philosopher is not really interested in the several beautiful things, but as someone who makes theoria or theorein, this word you of course know, this theory, we always use it. It comes from theorein. Theorein means looking. But it's not like, dropping your eyes over something, or it's not looking very dull at something. It's not looking bored. It's such a look, theorein is such a look in which you want to grasp the structure of something. Theorein is a very strong look. In this look, you take this object and you try to understand its, I'm going to say, Wesen. Wesen is substance, is one of the most misused words in this field we call philosophy. Wesen is here im Sinne von, again, Wahrheit. The structure of something, the very explanation of something, or let's say. So when you look very much in the manner of theorein, you try to understand the Wesen of a certain object. You're interested in the Wesen of a certain object. So in the second part, we will be talking about to kalon itself and how, as Diotima shows us, how we can use eros. We can use eros in education, she says, we will see. We can use eros in this way, and then, kind of with a little bit direction, with a little bit leading of the children, we can make them love, one by one, certain beautiful things, up to that point where they encounter, where they find the beautiful itself. They will first start loving individual things, beautiful things, and then this love, when we use it as a Mittel, it might end these children, face to face with the beautiful itself. Okay, let's just give a pause and then do the second part, okay? If you do not have any questions, of course. This second part of Diotima's Rede will be, for you, of course, hopefully our last part of this whole seminar series. And we will lastly talk about, like I said, the beautiful itself. But the beautiful itself, as Diotima puts it here, we cannot really find its full definition or full explanation. But if you look at some other texts as well, you might get a hint about what it really is. Here, we mostly find, by Diotima's speech, a way you can use to get to, to reach the beautiful itself. We don't really need to say beautiful itself, so you would so really understand if I used only the article to kalon. So, das Schöne instead of those other beautiful things, beautiful individual things like beautiful bodies, beautiful praxis, beautiful logoi, not any, she says, no, not any beautiful animal, no, not any beautiful being, not any beautiful, some, individual thing. We're just after now the beautiful itself. That's true. And now we can use eros this time, love, as ein Mittel. Because it works, she says, it works. Eros can be used like this in order to, it will be a long way though until you really find the beautiful itself, das Schöne. But one by one, encountering, meeting, coming face to face with several, different beautiful things, in the end, you might really get to see the beautiful itself. But there is a way, and eros, love, and philein, loving, might really be used. So they might come in handy. So, from a very young age, Diotima says, we can kind of, lead a young boy, some child. We can direct him. And then what we're going to direct him to, to where we're going to direct him, we're going to direct him to someone beautiful. Someone beautiful, but someone really beautiful in his body. I'm using his because that's what she's saying. Other words I would add her too. So comes again the same word, zoma, corpus, which means body. That's our first step. We're going to, she says, this is like climbing the steps of a ladder, as if you're just climbing a ladder. We're going to go step by step in order to reach das Schöne. First step is where we direct our youngster, our young boy, into some kind of love affair, into some kind of relationship with someone beautiful. Someone who is, beautiful in his outer experience, so very physically beautiful. So, once we do this, once we kind of push him to this relationship with someone beautiful in his physical appearance, he will, with this, man, start a relationship. Of course, there's always the age gap, age difference between ancient Greek, which is very much accrued, but, somewhere in the dialogue you find it's not like a very young boy with a very old man. A very young boy would be a useless pursuit. So, someone, when we say a young boy, that is at least what they say in the dialogue. When we think of a young boy here, we shouldn't think of someone like 20 or 15. They say a young boy would be someone, they don't really specifically give an age, but they say a young boy would be someone who has newly had some wrinkles on his cheeks. That's a young boy. That's, I don't know how old is the other one. If this one has wrinkles on the cheeks, the other one, maybe really old, or maybe over 50. This one looks like at least 30, over 35. So, a relationship between a boy who is supposed to be 30-something and with a so-called older man, or perhaps maybe 50. So, we're kind of pushing this young man into this relationship with someone beautiful, and they're forming a relationship, and Diotima says they are hopefully, getting into good conversations, good speeches, theoretically, of course. And then, once our young men really, in the end gets to know this lover of his, and very much gets used to this lover of his, he starts seeing the same beauty, the same zomatic, physical beauty everywhere else too. He begins to recognize that the word is gnoritzein, as you would expect, canon. this man, once he really gets to know, he very much, or he gets used to this physical beauty in his lover, he then looks around. Wherever he sees some similar beauty, he then really acknowledges it. He just recognizes it. So then he understands. He comes, it comes to his understanding that that which makes all bodies beautiful is the same thing. This means this is pretty much a Platonic language. We should also translate this in our regular and ordinary language. When Platon says that it is the same thing that makes all beautiful bodies beautiful, he means we think of the same thing. We just think of we think of the same thing when we call this body beautiful, or this corpus. Corpus also can mean ein Gegenstand, when we name this thing here, or this other body there, when we're naming these things beautiful, Platon says, we refer to the same thing. We think about the same thing. So we have this conception of beauty. When we call this body physically beautiful, and that body physically beautiful. Then, once he recognizes, when he gets to this state of just, acknowledging and recognizing all the beautiful bodies, so Zoma, corpus, he began by falling in love with one singular beautiful body. Secondly, he kind of achieved the state of recognizing all the other beautiful bodies. So we have to go plural and say Kala Zomata, beautiful bodies. So here there's Gnoritzein. He developed this Gnoritzein. He developed an ability to recognize, to point out wherever there's a beautiful body. Once he just established this love relationship, and then he began to recognize a beautiful body just whenever he saw it. And then he came to understand that it's the same thing that makes everybody beautiful. So it's by the same sense we call all of these bodies beautiful. So he will now understand generally what zomatic beauty is. That is the first thing he understands. He really understands what really is bodily, physically, zomatically beautiful. This is just first step, and he will really go a long way from this. We will proceed. His second step, his second step is beautiful. This has everything to do with action. Beautiful pursuits. Kala, epitedeuma. Epitedeuma, that's the singular. When we have this, that makes it plural. Means beautiful pursuits. So, related to beautiful praxis. That is our second step. he says, once he's done with all of these, you know, all of these encounters with bodily things, with kalazomata and everything stuff, he will just, like climbing a ladder, he will now begin to direct his attention from the somatic world from Soma to Psyche, Seele. And that means he will look at other faculties or other possibilities within the Seele. You can do a lot of things with the Seele. You can do with your Psyche, you can of course think. That is something, that's a faculty generally. It's a faculty you can use for thinking. Seele Psyche can be translated as mind, but you can also do other things, like you can act. It is also, with some part of it, it's a faculty for action. You can also, using your Psyche, you can act. So it's a very, broad faculty. It is a combination, let's say, of many faculties. On one part of it stands the faculty for acting or action. On one part of it, the faculty for nourishment and growth and decay. And on one part of it, the faculty for thinking, which we call Vernunft. Okay, then he says, Diotima says, she says, this person, will direct his attention from the beautiful bodies to the beautiful souls, the beautiful Psyche in plural. And then that only indicates that he will now drop the somatic beauty. He will look at other different things. So beautiful pursuits, again we should remember of praxis. He will now, Diotima says, he will now be after beautiful pursuits. He will try to recognize, he will, for example, because he will begin action, and then once he gains some kind of a practical virtue, he will recognize this everywhere. He will be dealing with beautiful pursuits and beautiful actions. And then, with beautiful pursuits, he will see the beauty in laws, nomoi. Nomos is law. He will see the beauty in laws. He will see, for example, which law is just. Nomos can be, also in other translations, it's translated as law, and not only this, but also custom. Law and customs. With starting from beautiful praxis, he will then proceed to beautiful laws, because, praxis are very much individual, one by one, and laws pertain to general. Laws are not individual things. They're not individual principles. And this then is the second step, beautiful pursuits, where he will generally understand what beauty in this field is, what beauty in laws is. He will get to see this. He will distinguish between a beautiful law, between a proper legislation, let's say, and one that's very lousy. So we should think that in order to grasp which law is beautiful, we should first start from individual praxis. So we should be able to evaluate a praxis. We should, prato, act ourselves, and then, for example, gain certain hexes, habitus, We should gain some character. We should gain some virtue. We should gain some active conditions. Okay, we start with the physical part. There is the corpus, soma. We will recognize the beautiful bodies, and then we will understand, hopefully, generally what beauty in the physical side, what beauty somatically is. Secondly, our second step here, in fact, this is everything that has to do with ethics. We will learn how to act. We will learn what a good praxis is. And from here, we will step up from here, and then we will, in the end, know what is beautiful in the laws, in the general principles called laws. But if you would notice, and I'm sure you did, we're still not talking about Tokalon itself. We're talking about beautiful laws, nomoi. We're talking about beautiful bodies. But we have really not talked about the beautiful itself yet. But Diotima says that these are necessary steps. Just like you're climbing a ladder, you should really travel all these steps, from a young age, and then these steps eventually will take you to the beautiful itself. But it's not like your first encounter, your first coming to face with with the beautiful itself. You don't just get to see the beautiful itself all of a sudden. She says, there's a time for that. First, you should know, you should know the first step is much easier than the second. So you should slowly, one by one, slowly, you should just kind of like getting an exercise. First, because it's much easier to recognize the physical beauty, start with that. And if we are to direct you, we can just initiate this by just pushing you into a relationship with a beautiful man. That is a beautiful man that has a beautiful body. Then you start to recognize what physical beauty is. That's your first step. And then afterwards you might, of course, when we look at Platon, of course, if you have the capacity, you might take another step. You might do something else. And then you might look and search out for beauty elsewhere. You might notice that beauty is not only inherent in the corpus, it's not only inherent in bodies, but elsewhere too. So direct your focus from the bodies to the psyche, to the psyche, to the seele of people. Direct that. And then try to understand what a beautiful action is. And engage in beautiful actions. And then, after you get to know what a beautiful action is, just generally understand what beauty in laws are, what beauty in the field of legislation is. I said this has everything to do with ethics, and this is our second step. And our first step lies here, third step, and the step before the last one, because there are 4 steps. In the fourth, we hope to see das Schöne. In the third step, we see Wissenschaften, but Wissenschaften not in the contemporary meaning of it. You can also think of Fächer. Verschiedene Fächer. Different subjects. We find different subjects in the third step of this inquiry. This person will start seeing the beauty in different subjects, in different Wissenschaften. For example, just like we talked in the divided line, in the mathematics, for example. We will see the beauty in the different Wissenschaften. So this requires an encounter and some study in these Wissenschaften, in mathematics, for example, or in geometry. And see that, whenever then he sees a beautiful Wissenschaft, he will directly recognize it. He will not miss a beautiful Wissenschaft. And of course, he really has to spend some day in these Wissenschaften. But these Wissenschaften, these Fächer, they're just a step towards the beautiful itself. Then Diotima says that there is really something beautiful to be found in these Wissenschaften, in these Fächer, or in these sciences. There's something beautiful to be found. There are some beautiful things also in the praxis and nomoi, in the actions and in laws. These are all but individually beautiful things. We're not there yet to see the beautiful itself, but we will get there. We will get there. But this was the third necessary step to have an acknowledgement of, or to an encounter with the beautiful Wissenschaften. The beautiful Wissenschaften stands here as a, like I said, as a step in the ladder of Diotima. Wissenschaft or Fächer, I have translated here from Mathema. You can also translate it as subject. Beautiful subjects. So we have come all this way from the part that Plato looks down on, everything that has to do with bodies and stuff, and the beautiful actions, beautiful praxis, and then we have now passed to the so to say theoretical place, where we first see the beautiful mathemata, the beautiful Fächer. After this, she says, Diotima says that there is only one mathema. There is and this was the end of the road that we were planning for. There is this one mathema, one subject, one fact. She doesn't say what it is openly, but she says this is the only mathema in which you can see the beautiful itself. Now we have already seen so many things that are beautiful, that are considered as beautiful, but none of them were Tokalon itself. Das Schöne. These were all shown in one way or the other. These were all shown in different levels, let's say. These all had different values. These were all shown. But now, we have come to this, I really don't want to translate it as Wissenschaft, Mathema. We have come to this subject. We have now arrived at this field, which we see as the only field in which you can ask this particular question. Was ist das Schöne? And not any thing beautiful, not any other schön, but das Schöne. Only in this field you can just bring about this Wahrheit-Frage. Frage nach dem Wahrheit. Only in this mathema you can ask about Tokalon. Only here. All the other Wissenschaften up there. Yes, of course there are some studies going on there, but never a trace of this question, this fundamental question of only one field we find. And that is, of course, as all we know, this mathema although Diotima doesn't really explicitly say it, we know the Was-Frage only belongs to one Fach, and that's philosophy. So that's then, if we are to find to Kalon in this particular mathema, and she says, Diotima says, this is not any mathema. This is, we should add article. To mathema. So, the mathema. So there is no better Fach than this. There is no better mathema. There is no better subject than this. This is the subject that comes first in rank. That comes first in value. That's the best subject you can find. Of course, a philosopher, yes, would think like this. So only in this you can ask what the beautiful itself is. She says not any beautiful thing, not a beautiful animal, not a beautiful plant, not a beautiful custom, not a beautiful law, but the beautiful itself can only be asked in a philosophical context. I mean, in philosophy itself, better to say. So this was, according to Diotima, she says, this was, if from the beginning we wanted to get to here, we wanted to end in this Fach. And what we will achieve, okay, this is, she says, you can get to ask, and not only ask, but also investigate about to Kalon in this Fach called philosophy. And she says you can also find the answer. And she doesn't, here at least, she doesn't give the answer here, but she says something. She says exactly how we can use this answer, what we will do with the answer of to Kalon, how it will be useful for us. So then Diotima gives us the answer to the question, what is a philosophical investigation useful for? So what is so you might say, oh, it might not be useful for anything, it doesn't have to be useful for anything. But anyway, she does give the answer. She says, once we pop the question, we ask the question, we say, was ist das Schöne? Or ti estin to Kalon, in Greek. Ti estin to Kalon. When we ask this, and once we give the answer to this, we will be in such a state that we will never, not even once, for example, miss a beautiful praxis or virtue. Everything that is related to the beautiful, all the individual beautiful things. If once we do this investigation regarding to Kalon, then we can go back, if we do have the answer to what to Kalon is, then we could go back through all these steps. And also, in your daily life, in your daily encounters, she says, you will, if you know what das Schöne is, you will never miss anything beautiful. I mean, you will always, point out the beautiful thing. Individual beautiful things you will never miss. You will never miss a single beautiful thing. It will never let's say be far away, or when it's very much present, you will very quickly acknowledge it or recognize it. So the answer to Was ist das Schöne gives us sort of a possibility for the recognition of each and every beautiful thing. if we have beforehand, because done this investigation regarding das Schöne itself, then it's impossible, she says, Diotima. It's impossible to miss out on the individual things. We will always, where there's virtue, where there are good praxes, we will always, target these and catch these. Never miss these. So the answer to the question, was ist das Schöne, is not to be found here explicitly, but she gives this answer and she also says some other thing. You can only see to kalon, and you can see it, but because it is an eidos, to kalon is an eidos, so you cannot see it like you see this table or this chair here. You can only see to kalon with your nose. It is only to be seen in this subject or in this field called philosophy. So the other sciences, if you would notice, the other sciences cannot even pose this question. Remember when Heidegger said, Wissenschaft denkt nicht? He was talking about this. Wissenschaft denkt nicht. Wissenschaft never asks the what is question. It always does its calculations. It doesn't think. And denken here is used in its most root meaning. So you can only do whatever this denken is, and it's a very long discussion which we cannot go deep in here. But you can only put this denken into work in philosophy. And we can see that this is very much related to this T-Esten question, this what is question, this what is question. In fact, these 4 steps of this letter can remind you the divided line, the Liniengleichnis, because it's not like Platon is talking about different things in different dialogues. I mean, of course he's talking about slightly different things, but this guy's aim is very much clear. And you might have read in some history of philosophies that Plato somehow, in some dialogue, for example in the Parmenides, changed his mind. No, he didn't. And some other people think that he was talking in one way in the Timaios and talking in another way. Let's say in the Politeia. No, he wasn't. There are no passages whatsoever in which he, in one text says the opposite, and in one text says the other enantion. There is nothing to be found like this. So there's very much coherence throughout all the corpus of Platon. That's at least what I observe. Okay. One last thing about to kalon, I would say is that to kalon looks like, of course, when you think about kalon, to kalon, it might be the object of, for example, aesthetics, right? It might be the object of aesthetics, it might be the object of ethics, but as we know Platon, it might also be the object of epistemology, just like to agathon. So in some other dialogues, we find Platon talking about also das Schöne as well. For example, in Hippias Major, yes, and Phaedros, we find him talking about to kalon again, but this time in an ethical sense, and then again in an aesthetical sense as the object of aesthetics, like, for example, Kant uses it, like das Schöne in the Urteilskraft. You can find that. But here, since we see that the part called ethics we find in the second segment of this, what Diotima calls a letter. So we are all past that. We are past ethics, we are past other Wissenschaften, we are past all these things that has to do with Soma. So hedone we have passed. So we have come again to the theoretical side. But again, since there is no specific definition and no specific answer, but only the way to achieve it is very much outlined and kind of shown explicitly, we can only say this much. I think this is all I will be telling you for today and for all. But if you have any questions, any remarks, and at any place that kind of seemed odd, or you thought there was a problem with, or any remarks, they're all welcome. Please go ahead. Is this at least a bit clear? Okay. That's kind of what I want, as you would imagine. So it would be very nice if you, for example, one time again kind of quickly read at least the Diotima's Fede again, only to just check out whether I left something, whether I didn't, whether I kind of, let's say, interpretation, I was going to say, but interpretation in philosophical texts is an issue in itself that needs to be discussed. You might have heard the very fashionable saying, "Oh, that's my interpretation," and people also say, "This is my reading." No, this is my reading, that's your reading, and the whole relativism fashion, let's say, in philosophy just flourished. But I'm kind of, against it and a bit conservative maybe in this sense. I think that because, people, yes, they come up with different readings, but the philosopher himself or herself wrote that text not for people to understand different things. He or she wrote something, and he or she wrote this one particular thing, and with what he or she wrote, he or she, this philosopher, was trying to say only one thing, not many things that contradict each other. Apparently, I guess then the problem is something that has everything to do with us. We of course including myself. I think what they're trying to say is of course not very direct, but it should be very concrete. So the different interpretations and the different readings, this is something that really seriously needs to be discussed.